good evening. Welcome to this lecture in our leadership lecture series featuring our alumni. Today's speaker is a special one, Monishi. By the way, he has a hard stop around 6. So we're going to start on time today, which is very unusual. I told him that students will keep trickling in till 5:15 or so. So he's prepared for that. Monishi, I think you have all read his bio. I'm not going to repeat it. I do want to highlight a few things about Monishi. He is a multifaceted fellow. As you might have seen, he won the Governor's Gold Medal when he was a student here, when he graduated in 1970. But he was also the boxing champion. He was also in the literary team. He was a debating champion. He's
singing. I used to sing.
Singer.
Shall I sing for them?
Yeah, sure. He hikes, he swims, he scuba dives. So, and he also works for IIT Madras. I think he has been one of our best ambassadors in North America now for many years. Not just for IIT Madras, more importantly, he has been a Pan IIT ambassador. So. So his contributions to the Pan IIT cause have been tremendous. And of course, his largest claim to fame was the 60 Minutes show on IITs, which first created the brand hysteria in the US. How many of you are aware of the 60 Minutes show on IITs? You may have a very rare chance to actually view the clip today, if everything goes well. And of course, Monishi will describe his part in making that happen. And I think that has been the single most significant event in terms of brand building of IITs in the US. We still haven't been able to beat it, even though we have had many Pan IIT alumni meetings since then, both in the US and in India, but nothing has really had the impact that show did. And more recently, Monishi has also been playing a key role in terms of spreading the message about our research park. The IIT Madras Research Park is, of course, our crown jewel. It's what differentiates IIT Madras from all the other IITs. And Monishi has played a tremendous role in terms of making sure that industry in the US is aware of it. And as we launch Research Park Phase 2, I'm sure that he'll continue to play a very, very key role in making sure that it's as successful or more successful than Phase 1. So since he has a short time, I don't want to take up more time. I invite Monishi to share his thoughts with you.
Okay, guys, you heard all those great things about me, but let me tell you something. If it makes you feel any better, if I sat for the JEE today, I would make it, you know. Yeah, because, you know, expending a substantial portion of my childhood in practicing for an exam was certainly not the way I do things. And thank God my father was an army officer. Sort of, you know, we played around, did all sorts of things, you know. I attended my classes. Okay student, and so somebody was asking me, what's this? Huh? So he said, how did you manage to balance your studies with so many other extracurricular activities? Now, I think in my 3rd year, I got pulled into a study group. So that is okay because a lot of my class friends were very studious. They went to class and they went to the library while I was playing in the football field or throwing the discus or the hammer or something like that. And then in the evening, they would teach me in a nutshell what they learned in a couple of hours in the library. So that's okay. They earned my protection. Well, I was the heavyweight boxing champion in the institute. So, you know, anybody who teaches me doesn't get hurt. So, well, you know, I sort of, it's one of the things I'm going to dwell on is a thing called work-life balance because, you know, it may carry through. So let me just start with how we really got this Pan IIT movement started, because I'm talking about pre-year 2000. We were all very isolated. An IIT Madras guy would not talk to an IIT Bombay guy or that IIT Delhi guy out there. you know. I would consider him to be an insect. I still do though, but anyway, you know. But the reality is that we were little isolated pockets, and I think it was Raj Mashruwala of IIT Bombay or Monishi Sanyal. They called this meeting of local presidents in the Bay Area, and we got together and said, we've just gone into the recession, this 2001 dot-com bust took place and everybody's hurting for jobs, and I would really like to connect with that guy who's the CEO of that company. He's an IIT, but he's from IIT Delhi. Heck, I don't want to go to him, but I did want to go to him, but a lot of alumni needed to sort of cross-relate with other IITians. That was one. The other thing that we discussed was, if you look at any one IIT, they don't have significant achievements in terms of what their alumni have done. Maybe a few guys from IIT Madras, a few guys from Delhi, Kanpur. But if you put them together, we had a massive story. We just said, what, it won't even fit into a program. If you could take all the IITs and all our successful alumni and what they have done. So we said, let's do a couple of things, Let's make America aware of the IIT brand, and that is when that 60 minutes program that you saw, it was being done, but because of 9/11, it was put on hold. We restarted the whole thing, and we decided we were going to form a Pan IIT Alumni Association, and we had all the bigwigs, you name it, all the Rajat Guptas, the Kanwal Rekhis, all those guys gave ideas. They kept talking and talking. I said, guys, let's do it. And then, of course, they dropped the ball on me and they said, you do it. I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Of course, nobody helped me out till we signed up Bill Gates, and everybody's out to throw me out and take over, because we got the star speaker, So net is I managed to hang on. Okay, so IIT 50 was the 50th anniversary of IIT Kharagpur. And we said, if this is the 50th anniversary of IIT Kharagpur, it's the 50th anniversary of the IIT system. So let's use this occasion to launch a blockbuster event which would pull all of us together. And this is what it did. We played the 60 minutes program 3 times, and I had a little doubt about it, because 60 minutes normally will say a couple of good things about you and a few bad things about you. And I was really worried, that the first thing that they'll hit upon was, you guys took education from the taxpayers of India under their subsidy, and then you all ran away to America and made your wealth, and what did you do for your country? I knew it would come to that, but funnily enough, 60 minutes never raised the question. The question was raised by Mr. N. Ram, who was the editor of Hindu at that time. In that program, you'll see that. I'll just play that clip for you. So net is that we had a tremendous event, tremendous publicity, and we became a household name. And I know some of our own IIT alumni who started a venture fund. I don't know if you guys know Venki Harinarayan and Anand Rajaram. They were the old Jungli group. They started a venture fund, and they had gone to California pension fund to get some money for the venture fund. And so those guys said, oh, Stanford, oh great. And they said, where do you guys study in India? So those guys said, in IIT. So, oh wow, you studied in IIT. We saw that 60 minutes program. We were absolutely blown away by what you have to go through to get to that point. Okay, so this disconnect is what we were addressing, and the brand equity were the two things which were our primary target. Today we have kind of enlarged our goals to brand building, okay, integrating alumni activities between all IITs, and providing alumni services. Okay, like mentoring, networking, and innovation and product development. I'm sort of like a traffic cop. I help these guys connect with angel financiers and VCs, and we got specialized groups. Once upon a time, it used to be security and storage and enterprise. Today, it's cloud, mobility, all these, social media. These are the new kind of things. So this trend keeps shifting, and I have a group of guys who help me in providing guidance to all IITians, to be able to move them to the specialized group to get advice, then to help them apply for financing. So that's pretty much what we are up to today. India, the goals are a little different because they have nation building as a thing. But remember, in India, IIT is the greatest institute. There's no questions about it. But in the US, we are competing against the Stanfords, the MITs, and all the famous institutions there. So if we can take a little thing, I will, how many of you guys have seen that 60 minutes program? Okay, well, it seems a large chunk of you haven't. So let me just play that to show you what we did. Okay, it's a 12-minute clip actually, so I'll have enough time after that. Yeah. Volume's on.
The United States imports oil from Saudi Arabia, cars from Japan, TVs from Korea, and whiskey from Scotland. So what do we import from India? We import people, really smart people. And as you're about to see, the smartest, most successful, most influential Indians who've migrated to the US seem to share a common credential. They're graduates of the Indian Institute of Technology, better known as IIT. Made up of 7 campuses throughout India, IIT may be the most important university you've never heard of. This is IIT Bombay. Put Harvard, MIT, and Princeton together, and you begin to get an idea of the status of this school in India.
You compute the capacity of the column.
IIT is dedicated to producing world-class chemical, electrical, and computer engineers.
And then you plug this back in and you...
With a curriculum that may be the most rigorous in the world. Just outside the campus gates, the slums, congestion, and chaos of Bombay are overwhelming. Inside, it's quiet and uncrowded, and by Indian standards, very well equipped. Getting here is the fervent dream of nearly every schoolboy.
With a population of over 1 billion people in India, competition to get into the IITs is ferocious. Last year, 178,000 high school seniors took the entrance exam called the JEE. Just over 3,500 were accepted, or less than 2%. Compare that with Harvard, say, which accepts about 10% of its applicants.
The IITs probably are the hardest school in the world to get into.
In the whole world.
To the best of my knowledge.
Vinod Khosla got into IIT about 30 years ago. After graduating, he came to the US, co-founded Sun Microsystems, and became one of Silicon Valley's most important venture capitalists. He's one of thousands of IIT graduates who've made it big in the US.
How significant would you say the impact of IIT graduates has been on the American technology revolution?
It's far greater than most people realize. Microsoft, Intel, PCs, Sun Microsystems, you name it. I can't imagine a major area where Indian IIT engineers haven't played a leading role.
Leading role.
A leading role, and of course the American consumer and the American business in the end is the beneficiary of that.
It isn't just high tech. The head of the giant consulting firm McKinsey & Company is an IIT grad. So is the vice chairman of Citigroup and the former CEO of US Airways. Fortune 500 headhunters are always on the lookout for that IIT degree.
They are favored over almost anybody else. If you were walking in for a job, you wouldn't have as much pre-assigned credibility as you do if you're an engineer from IIT.
90% of IIT students are male, and the young men we met in Bombay know they're hot commodities.
The American companies love the kids from IIT.
Thank goodness. That's what we heard. That's what we heard too. After I leave IIT Bombay, I hope to get a good job.
So it can be a ticket to another way of life.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And a ticket out of India.
How many of you think that you're going to end up in the United States?
For a while, I think all of us would be there. Maybe
at
for
some
work.
stage.
At some stage.
That's not the way it was supposed to be.
I want my country to be strong.
Nehru, India's first prime minister, created IIT 50 years ago, just after independence, to train the scientists and engineers he knew the nation would need to move from medieval to modern. He never imagined India would be supplying brain power to the whole world.
Would you say that IIT graduates are India's most valuable export?
Yes, undoubtedly.
N. Ram, one of India's leading journalists, says that because the stakes are so high, a kid starts preparing early.
Age 7, 8, 10, By the 10 you know whether you're made for it or not.
This is the truth or not?
And at least half of these 10-year-olds told us they think they're made for it.
Not food? Yes.
But just standing out in school won't be enough.
Two valences to the other.
At about 16, they enroll in a prep class where they're drilled for the IIT entrance exam. There are even pre-dawn tutoring classes.
4:30 to about 8, they're grilled and then they go to school.
Regular school.
Regular school.
4:30 to 8 a.m.
Yes.
Are you saying they do that every day?
Yes, every day for that period.
2
Particularly
years.
2 years. Classes 11 and 12, you do nothing but study.
And parents hover and push and fret.
I normally stay up all night and study for my exams. So during this preparation, my mother never used to let me prepare my own cup of tea.
So if you stayed up all night, she stayed up all night to make your tea?
Stay up with me, yeah.
After years of preparation, the day they and their families believe will make or break the future finally arrives.
On the day of the exam, my dad, my mom and my younger brother, they all accompanied me to the center. I said, okay, now you can leave, I'll come home on my own. But I was literally amazed when I came back out of the center and see my parents and brother still waiting for me outside the center.
How many hours?
It was close to 6 hours.
6 hours of testing, then an excruciating month-long wait for the results.
They put them up on the web and you can call them up, and after 10 days you get a letter. So
but it's on the web so everybody knows.
Yeah. You never get your marks.
You just get your All India rank.
You just get your rank.
Rank, so you first, second, third in the country.
Right.
Yeah. So it goes from
So
1 to 3,000 roughly.
So if you were 2,999, everybody knows.
Everybody knows, and you're considered really lucky.
The top rankers get their photographs in the paper and all. So.
The high ranks.
The high ranks.
Yeah, he's one of them.
Of course. You were one of them?
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
What number?
I was 196.
Did you get your picture in the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The ranking isn't just an ego trip. The top kids get to choose which campus they want and which major.
It's a big deal in India. It is.
Narayana Murthy, founder of the huge software company Infosys, is known as the Bill Gates of India.
It's very easy to lose hope in this country. It's very easy to set your aspirations low in this country. But amidst all this competition among high quality students, this institution of IIT sets your aspirations much higher.
Now what about your own son?
Well, my son, he probably wanted to do computer science at IIT. To do computer science at IIT, you have to be in top 200. And he couldn't do that, so he went to Cornell instead.
Think about that for a minute. A kid from India using an Ivy League university as a safety school. That's how smart these guys are.
I do know cases where students who couldn't get into computer science at IITs, they have gotten scholarship at MIT, at Princeton, at Caltech. Yes, sure.
You wouldn't mistake this for MIT or Caltech. It's the final exam of metal fabrication class required for every IIT freshman. Call it shop class on steroids. Using just a saw and a file, students have to cut 1/4-inch steel into an assigned shape, measured to the millimeter. It's an illustration of IIT's emphasis on engineering basics, precision, and discipline. Nobody majors in music at IIT. The education is not well-rounded. But in science and technology, IIT undergraduates leave their American counterparts in the dust.
When I finished IIT Delhi and went to Carnegie Mellon for my master's, I thought I was cruising all the way through Carnegie Mellon because it was so easy relative to the education I had gotten at IIT Delhi.
If you think of engineering students as nerds, not particularly bold or creative, IIT somehow breaks the mold. It turns computer geeks into risk takers and leaders. I'm wondering why so many IIT graduates are entrepreneurs. Why so many do start their own companies.
I think it's because of the confidence. We are lucky enough to be told by people around us that we're good and that we have a bright future, and that gives us a lot of confidence.
There's something else. Students act like entrepreneurs the whole time they're at IIT. They run everything in the dorms, which might be mistaken for cell blocks if not for all the Pentium 4 PCs. They organize the sports themselves. They even hire the chefs and pick the food in the mess halls. And unlike so many other institutions in India, they all know they're here because they deserve to be here.
Can you slip somebody a couple of rupees and say, come on, get my son in?
No, no, never.
Impossible?
Impossible, impossible. There is no corruption. It's a pure meritocracy.
IIT may also be one of the best educational bargains in the world. It costs a family just about $700 a year for room, board, and tuition. That's less than 20% of the true cost. The Indian government subsidizes all the rest. While some IIT grads stay and have helped build India's flourishing high-tech sector, almost 2/3, up to 2,000 people leave every year, most for the US.
Some people would say you're subsidizing factories which produce largely for the higher end of the American employment market.
So there's this debate here that says, why are we spending so much money to educate these brilliant young men who just leave?
You don't have to be crudely nationalistic to raise this question. There's a need here, there's a demand here, and these guys are simply not available.
How many of them ever come back?
Very small percentage. But my view is that we also have to work harder here to make it attractive for them to come back.
Murthy is doing his part. His software company, Infosys, hires about 150 IIT graduates every year to stay and work in India. He says the brain drain doesn't worry him.
Sure, Nehru wanted all these young men and women to contribute to the success of India, and they are contributing to the success of India in some way, because today the respect for the Indian professional is much higher in the United States than what it was in the 50s.
But does that translate into investment money coming into India?
Some of these people who have reached the higher echelons in the corporate world in the US, they have persuaded their corporations to start operations in India, whether it's Texas Instruments, whether it's General Electric, whether it's Citibank.
So it does mean investment back here?
Oh yes, it does mean.
I have no question that India now is benefiting significantly from the cycling of knowledge, the back and forth, no question about it.
And individual IIT grads are sending lots of money back home too. But the US still gets the better end of the bargain.
How many jobs have entrepreneurs, Indian entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley created over the last 15, 20 years? Hundreds of thousands, I would guess.
For this society?
For this society here in America. For America to be able to pick off this human capital, these well-trained engineers with great minds, is a great deal.
Okay, can you flip to the next one? Okay guys, you got a flavor of what we put up, and we became a household name almost overnight, because this is one of the most critical programs and is watched extensively. Pardon?
You also became Arjun Singh's target.
Arjun Singh? Who's Arjun Singh?
Ex-union.
Huh?
Ex-union.
Ex-union minister. Why did I become his target?
Well, he wanted, now what's happening is to change the modus of recruitment.
Okay. Anyway, getting back, I'm going to go at a little bit of a fast pace now. I just got about half an hour left. So, for all of you young people who are coming out of the system, a couple of key things you got to note, because after doing the IIT 50, I've been running a mentor group, and I do hear lots of stories of grief from brilliant young minds from the IITs, and we sort of put them in different buckets, and I will just try to crystallize some of those things. First of all, you need to have some goals. That means, what is it that you really want to do? What would you like to do? There's no point being a rudderless ship. The other thing is, in setting your goals, consult people. It's good to sort of talk to people who've been down that path, what the pitfalls are likely to be. You will get lots of guidance, and if you come to Silicon Valley, connect with me, and we got a huge alumni association. In Silicon Valley alone, we got over 10,000 alumni, registered alumni. There may be more who are not registered, but we are the largest chapter in the world. And you know, I'm saying active chapter. I mean, there are chapters in India could have more people, but they're not registered, they don't participate. Key thing in deciding what you want to do is aptitude, your attitude, and the kind of altitude that you want to get to. And the aptitude is what is your natural acumen? What do you feel most comfortable with? And I will keep quoting examples from my own life. I know when I first started a software company, I had attrition. And one of the things I did was, you know what, I was a business person. I said, I'm going to get overcome. I'm going to get to know how to do all the programs that these guys write, because they keep leaving and I'm back to square one. After all, once upon a time I had programmed in Fortran in IIT, you know, those big decks of cards and what have you. So I said, why can't I do it? I did it and I became fairly proficient at it. But you know, at the end of the day, I said, you know what, this is not my calling. I'm a deal maker. You know, I love meeting people, I love selling, and that was it. And even long ago, there was a factory in Madras up called Shri Fibers. I was on the project team that set up that thing, and later on I was in charge of the factory. And then I told my MD, I said, you know what, that's not the place for me. You know, I need to be out there selling. I'm a deal maker. You know what I mean? So you got to understand what are you really good at, you know, and what is your natural inclination. Because if you follow the natural inclination, if you do what you like to do, you will last much longer. I don't work much. You know why? Because I'm always doing things which I like to do. The attitude is another thing. You know, it's a question of, are you a grumpy sort of a guy, you know, or are you a happy-go-lucky sort of a fellow? So, you know, very often you need different kinds of people. You know, let's say if I was in labor relations, I think I'd do a good job, and I did. I know in the factory that was here in Madras, I took the deputy union leader, not the union leader, but the deputy union leader. We used to play games, and I taught him how to box. So after that, when they had a strike, nobody would want to step out. And then I went out and met the workers. You know, but because they knew me, they handled me very softly. And they also knew that I was a young guy out there, and all these seniors who were sitting back behind the gate. So I'm just saying, if you are a people person, or if you're something else, if you're a nerdy kind of a guy, then you want to go into those kind of deep research kind of things. So you have to understand your own acumen, attitude, how do you like to go about it. Then the last point I'm just saying is altitude. What is the kind of sacrifice that you'd like to make? And I will dwell on this in the next couple of slides. Do you want to lead a balanced life, or do you want to really drill till you've achieved what you want to achieve? So it's a question of how far do you want to push yourself, you know. So the other thing we talk about, a few years ago, we had a bit of a downturn, and there were guys who went so overboard about success. There were suicides. There was one guy, IIT Madras guy. He killed his 3 sons, his mother-in-law, his wife, and he committed suicide. You know, then we started forming counseling groups and all that over there, because you know there was more than one case of this type where the guy just pulls out a gun. By the way, you can get guns pretty easily in the US. So you just go bam, bam, that's it. You know, I mean, you knock everybody out and take yourself out with it. So I'm just saying that you need to strike some sort of a balance between your work, the intensity at what you want to get at, and your family life, you know, or whatever, your personal life. The other thing is time management, and I'm going to come to this time management, because typically when you're a bachelor, you have one kind of time management mode. You do not have a family. Then you get married, slight change takes place, then you have children, and I find that the lowest attendance that we have are from people who have children who are at the lower school age group, because they're soccer moms, they have to take their children, cart them for football matches and this match and that match. So they do not have all the time, you know. Again, then you have the empty nesters like me. My children have gone, I see my grandchildren once a week, and we have all the time in the world, you know. So it's either the youngest or the oldest groups that have more time to participate in our alumni activity. So in this work-life balance ecosystem, you need to understand your target audience. Okay? One is on the personal side. You have yourself, family, friends. Then you have social groups like where it's a religious group in temples or clubs or whatever. And then you have the work and the career side where you have your boss, then you have your peers, you have your subordinates, and you have industry groups. So let me just, sometimes some of these things will counter each other. If you want to be very popular with your boss, you're always trying to please him. And in the process of pleasing your boss, your peers are calling you, that sucker, he's always sucking up to the boss. And I'm sure you have that here also, that that guy is sucking up to the teacher, he wants to probably wants to leak out the question paper or something like that. So this is happening all the time. Then you have your peers. If you get along famously with your peers, the boss thinks you're a troublemaker. That, oh, this guy is always trying to get guys and stir up trouble. I was generally in that category, stirring up the pot, creating trouble. And then you have the subordinates. If you try to support your subordinates too much, you sort of like sometimes you do that. Hey, I'm the boss. The buck stops here. And then there are other guys, when their boss catches them, hey, why did this thing go wrong? He said, no, I didn't do it. That guy under me did it. Stepping out of line of fire makes you hugely unpopular in a work environment. You don't want to do it, but sometimes people just don't want to take the blame for anything, But I think you should stand up, be a man. Stand up, be a man. Take what it comes, take what comes to you, and get on with it. The other thing is in industry groups, like whether if you're in business or in a corporate world, how you deal with your customers, how you deal with vendors, how you deal with other people in the same industry. You can, through that recognition, be seen as some sort of a leader, which sort of sometimes percolates up, and your managing director may say, this guy seems to know all those guys, maybe we should make this guy the general manager or whatever. Now, on the family side, on the personal side, you need to make that sacrifice. Once you get married and you have children, remember, if you strive too much for your targets, for your own personal targets, it comes at a cost. I have a dear friend of mine who's been enormously, made huge amount, hundreds of millions of dollars he's made, but you know what? He travels three weeks in a month. His family's hardly ever seen him. Now of course, he's sort of eased up because he's made all the money he wanted to. Now he's spending, but his family's already grown up and gone. It's a lost opportunity, it's a lost moment. So you need to strike some sort of a balance between how much time you want to give your work and how much time you want to give your family and your friends. Now, when you meet your friends, there are two motives. Some guys like to select friends who can be beneficial to them in their careers. Some guys like to meet friends who are just fun guys. I love to meet some people because they're a big laugh, And so it's a question of, you have to strike a balance that, hey, how much time do you want to spend with your friends? And friends and colleagues, this is a very important thing because, very often we run into a situation. I had a recent situation. After 40 something years, a guy writes to me, he says, oh, I've written this book. Can you have it critiqued by, not critiqued, I think a foreword written by some famous IITian. So I said, okay, I sent it to that guy. Then this guy started ringing me up every day. So what's happened? My book, my foreword, what happened to that? So I said, hey, look, this guy is traveling. He's a very senior guy, so give a little time. So this guy got really riled. So I told him, hey, 40 years, you were nowhere on the scene. All of a sudden, you're jumping all over me for that connection. So one thing you don't want to do is to connect with somebody when you need help. You need to keep in touch with people all the time. Okay, because you know what, when you keep in touch with people all the time, some people get surprised that I pick up a phone and I'm able to get through to somebody who would be generally very, very difficult to connect with. But that's because I keep in touch with them. It's not that I go to them in a moment of need. So networking is a very critical thing. I think I have it in the next slide. Just one sec here. Let me go to this and I'll come back to the thing. So I just covered the first point. Keep in touch with people all the time. Other thing is, do not abandon people when they've fallen by the wayside. And I think in IIT Mana, where I was the president, we've had some well-known guys who fell by the wayside. Now suddenly something happened and they got kicked out of their companies and all that. And they were dog meat for the rest of the guys. I said, big mistake. I connect with the guy. When he's in trouble, I put my arm around the guy. He said, hey, is there any way I can help you out? You know, is there any connection you want? Trust me, that guy, very capable guy, he came back right on the top again. And then somebody says, I want to meet that fellow. I said, no problem. I pick up the phone. He says, yeah, sure, send the guy. I said, how do you manage to do that? I said, when he was in trouble, I was one of the few guys who went and said, hey, I'm going to be with you. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Simple phone call. Now, whether I could have done anything for him or not is secondary. But the fact is, it was a minor's gesture, and they appreciate that. So do not abandon people who, you know, it could be just a temporary phenomenon, you know. And the other thing is, do not ignore people who are nobodies today. I conducted a conference last week in the US called Using Technology to Enhance Primary Education in India. It was wildly popular. We had about 300 people who attended, and I had a great group from Khan Academy and Pratham and Mango Reader, Hole in the Wall, all these great speakers came together and all that. So the Pratham guy was telling me, the chairman of Pratham is not the founder, the chairman is a classmate of mine from school. He said, no, you got a lot of youngsters out here who came, and a lot of others. I said, you know, why do you bring these guys? We want to collect money. I said, look, my goal in IIT is not to go around with a hat collecting money. My goal is to seed an idea. Because education technology has become a big thing now. You know, everybody wants to know how you want to let content go down to the rural levels in India. How do you translate content from one language to the other? It's a very, very hot space. I said, these guys will make the money. I mean, not all of them, but you know, out of the group, even if 10 make money and they make multi-million dollars, he said, you already got a source because they got interested in your subject and they could be investing in your organization. So it's a question that, you know, you're betting on the future. You're betting on somebody, you know what, let me give you some ideas and all that sort of thing. But you know, maybe not all of you will make it, but some of you who do, if you like the idea, you know what, someday you'll come around to that cause which may be very special to you, and you may be contributing your time, your money, or whatever. Then in networking, the other thing which I find is that, you know, in conferences, we have to drive attendance. And I tell the alumni, why is that? Whenever you have a conference, attend it. Because, you know, let's say after this, when there's a breakout session, you guys will meet each other. Okay, I mean, it probably doesn't apply to you because you are all in the campus. You are sort of imprisoned in this environment. But once you get out in life, if you go to a conference, you know, the idea is you want to stay in his face. You want to stay in somebody's face. Now, I meet you and say, hey, hi, how many seconds was that? About 10 seconds? You saw me, I saw you. I go to that guy, there are 200 people there, the conference is 2 hours long. You know, the average connect time is what, 60 seconds? I mean, it's less than, I'm sorry, it's less than 45 seconds, let's say, average. But it's, hey, hi, how are you? Hey, what are you doing? You know, hey, was that your girlfriend I saw the other day with somebody else? You know, something like that. I mean, just keep jabbing. You know, you're in their face. You know, that's all it takes. Now, you can't drive a deep relationship that way. But out of those 200 people, you filter down to a smaller group where you want to have a little bit more deeper relationship. Okay? And that deeper relationship, I mean, you may have to hit the guy 3, 4, 5 times. You know, cost in time is increasing. And then you want to have a one-on-one meeting like I do sometimes with my customers. You know, I go to a customer, we go out for lunch. I go out for lunch, an hour and a half is gone, and another $30 has gone out of my pocket. But then I'm trying to drive a deeper relationship because I want some business out of the guy. But you need to do both, because there are sometimes, I mean, I hate to run into a situation where the guy says, wow, it's been 7 years since I met you. I said, that's not me. You're going to see me in 7 years at least 7 times. Because, we run all these events, you run into them wherever you can. And I know I've done the most dastardly things in this area. When I was in India, I mean, I'm a master networker, if I could easily say that. There was a police commissioner who died in Calcutta. And I was trying to get into the police headquarters to sell some software. And I said, I didn't know these guys. So this fellow died, the police commissioner died. I attended his, what they call the Shraddh ceremony, which is, after the funeral, they have this, event where people come and they mourn his life. So I showed up there. So the other senior police guys thought I knew him. Now, he's not going to get up because he's dead. He can't get up and say, I didn't know this guy. You can't gate crash in a wedding so easily. If you gate crash in a wedding, you'll get caught. Because, I say, who's that? Girl side asked boy side, is that yours? Boy side said, no. Girl side said, no, not for me, a gate crasher. But the man's dead. Go for it, attend that funeral. Nobody know, and all of a sudden you start picking up connections out there, I said, I got to know those fellows, and how do you know, he did this? You can pick up a lot of bull and throw it at those guys, but you know what? You were there. So I'm just saying networking is so very important in any way, which form, or, that's it. Thing. So I'm saying this is like a upside down pyramid. You start with the top end, wide connections, stay in the face, narrower, get deeper relationship where actually you stop and talk to a person, talk to him, I mean, I'm saying, I don't know how long it's going to take talking to this guy. He's such a nut, I'm going to talk to him. But anyway, he's going to feel good. Maybe potential customer, maybe I'll get something out of him, or maybe potential boss or whatever. You're going to get something out of him. So you spend a little bit more time. Okay. So this is, you must use networking because you don't want to be seen as the guy who was an opportunist, that came there just to make, when the need arose, he connected with you. Now, impressions. This is a very important thing which people change. People change, but you will realize human nature is such that sometimes you're associated with a certain image. And it takes years to wipe out that impression. I was known as a joker in school. I'm a joker again now, but in midlife I was not such a joker. I mean, I was reasonably serious. But it sort of sticks with you. In IIT, guys thought I was a bit of a ruffian, very aggressive fellow. Ruffian, ask these guys, they're my classmates, So I had a mean bean kind of a reputation. And it takes a long time to get rid of it. You have to be pally with a guy for long enough and say, you know what, I'm not the same guy you knew in college, but, it's sort of this thing. Another fellow, he approached me for a job, and the first thing I think is, this guy, he doesn't take life seriously. He's always, it's all sideways, joke here, joke there. There's a time for it, but not during your 8 hours at work. You got to be focused and serious. So impressions tend to stick. So with your friends, just remember you're creating impressions today, and it's a question of you never can tell. That fellow could be your future boss. You want to ensure that even with your peer group now, have a good time, but don't create extreme wrong impressions, because it'll come to haunt you later. You never can tell, It takes a long time to recover from that. Then the other point that I want to make is, which is something I've seen very often in Silicon Valley, is there are guys who have done some tremendous work, but it has not been recognized. Either they've been bypassed in promotion or their work has not been recognized. Now, the key element here is you must know how to sell yourself, okay? Because the reality is you're just as good as the impression you've created on the outside world. Unless you're a very self-contained person saying that, I'm happy with myself and that's all I care about. But the reality is when you go out there, because it affects your compensation, it affects so many aspects in your life, you are always governed by what other people think about you. Okay? So no matter how good a job you've done, you must make sure that the other guy finds out about it. Now, sometimes it's considered very cheap if you go and tell the fellow, hey, I did this, I did that, I did, no. I mean, there are guys who do that, but after a while they say, oh man, here he comes, he's going to talk all about himself for the next 1 hour. So, the other way to do it is have friends who will speak for you. So you get pally with a guy and you tell the fellow, hey, I did this. Why don't you convey that to that little group over there? You're not doing it. And you say, hey, I'll do the same thing for you in return. I know we had 2 of our classmates in New York. One guy bought a Mercedes. The other guy didn't have the car. Both were in business. I'm talking about Nirula and Gulati. So Ravi tells Gulati, hey, when I have a very important customer coming in, could you sit in the front of the car and drive the car with the peak cap on like a driver? And we'll buy a common size cap. And when you have a customer, I'll drive the car, you sit at the back with the customer and I'll wear the peak cap. So the customer is going to think, oh wow, this fellow, he must be very, very successful. Unfortunately, okay, in America, what happens is the more show you do, the more you flaunt your wealth, they think you're more successful. So people like to show that they're bigger than they actually are, so fancy car and all that sort of thing, whereas in India it's probably the other way around, because if you drive a fancy car, the customer is going to think, oh shoot, I'm paying for that overhead, I shouldn't, no, honestly, when I first went to America, I bought a Toyota Corolla and my partner said, you're mad. He was based in the US for a long time. He said, buy a good car, because people will judge you by the car you drive in the area where you live. I was living in a tiny apartment but in a classy area, so that was okay. But I had a Toyota Corolla, and he made me change that after 2 years, and finally I got a sort of middle luxury car, But this guy went the extreme. He said, I'll be your driver, you be my driver, so we'll swap places. So, so as I'm saying, it's very, very important that you sell yourself. The passive selling method is there where you do a bunch of guys a favor. They'll talk about you, and I mean with the IIT group and particularly the IIT Madras group, I got to tell you, the IIT Madras is the most inert bunch of guys I've seen. If an IIT Bombay guy makes $2, he will go and tell the whole world I made 2 million. If an IIT Madras guy makes 2 million, he goes underground. Of course, partly because I was a fundraiser at one time, and they'll know, Monishi is going to come with his long arms and sticky paws and want to take some money out of my pocket for something or the other. So they would avoid it. I mean, it came to such an extent that I told one guy I'm going to call him up, and I did call him up. His wife picks up the phone, and I could hear from the back. He's like, if it's Monishi, I'm not at home. I heard that. So I'm just saying that. You really need to sell yourself. But I've told IIT Madras guys, look, if you are a naturally shy person, come and tell me your success. I'll beat the drum for you, I'll blow the trumpet for you, because of the fact that for me, one of my major goals, as you saw that 60 minutes program, I am hunting for successful stories. I want to enhance the image of IIT. That's one of my major goals, branding IIT. I want to enhance the brand of IIT by collectively picking up all the successful stories. Now, this December 5th, I'm launching another major conference on, it's called Leveraging Universities for Innovation. Leveraging Universities for Innovation. Because if you saw the 60 minutes, we are talking about successful entrepreneurs in IIT, that program you saw. But we have now found that we've got a lot of guys who have been very successful in academia, and it's something we've never projected so far. We've got 2 chancellors. By the way, the chancellor of Carnegie Mellon is IIT Madras. The chancellor of University of California at San Diego is Koshla, is IIT Kharagpur. We've got 2 chancellors. We've got a whole slew of guys who are deans and presidents and chairs. And I was just telling Nag and Dairo today, I said, I'm going to collectively put all that together, and I've got the media which is most relevant to the university and academia group. I'm going to make a major hype, something like this 60 minutes kind of thing, a major hype, so that it'll say, IITians teach America, some line like that we can go and pump it. Say, boss, we're not just greedy entrepreneurs who made our money and ran for it. We taught you guys, So because I just see that we have the numbers now, we have the critical mass, the numbers that are coming up in major institutions. Even in MIT, the dean is, I think we got 2 deans from IIT in MIT, and Subra Suresh, who is the chancellor of Carnegie Mellon, before this, he was in one of the top ranking positions in the US government. He was the director of National Science Foundation. This is a blowout. Then we are trying to get another guy in, is a fellow called Arun Mazumdar, who is a chair in Berkeley. He was the director of ARPA-E, that is the energy sector. So I'm just saying, we have a lot of IITians who are making it in academia and related fields. So I think we are going to go for a major second brand drive. So I'm just saying, many of you will be coming to Silicon Valley. When you do something fantastic, come and tell me about it. Because I run a group that will promote, they'll promote you if you can't promote yourself, okay? If you're just too tongue-tied, or you don't have the wherewithal to communicate, we'll do it for you. Okay, then okay, now the other key thing is how to motivate yourself. Now, keep in mind, yesterday is not tomorrow, okay? Now, in school, I had a bit of a disaster. I was once a top-ranking student, and my father, who was an army officer, wanted to get me through school as fast as possible because of the fact that it'll cost him less. So at the first opportunity that the principal gave, he gave me a double promotion. He got me a double promotion. Biggest mistake, where I hit the bottom of the class after that. Then I was the topper of the class from the bottom. And I kind of pretty much stayed that way till I crawled up to the middle somehow. But, sort of you get stereotyped. My class teacher will say, you're no good, Sanyal, he used to call me Sanyal. I think my college guys here also call, say, you're no good, you'll never make it. Okay, fine. Now there are 2 ways you can react to it. One is to say, hey, everybody says I'm no good, so hit the bottle, hit the drugs, go under. The other thing is say, you know what, I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to change that impression. So what happened was, when I got into IIT, I met my class teacher some years later. And I said, no, I studied in a missionary school in Darjeeling. So I said, Father, I'm doing okay now. My studies have picked up and things like that. You must be studying in some small college, roadside college or whatever. I said, no, it's the IIT. So IIT, then it must be a fluke. He just wouldn't accept it. I said, you know what? Even in sports, okay, because I was then the youngest guy in my class in school, I wasn't that hot in sports. I say, also sports I'm not doing too badly. I'm national champion in rowing, and many other games I've done significantly well. So, he went. He wouldn't accept it. He just went off. That was it. But I'm just saying that, keep in mind, if you've not been successful yesterday, it is no reason to believe that you cannot overcome that. You can. And by the same token, I'll tell all you brilliant guys, if you've been successful once, don't lie back on your laurels. You could go the other way around, because we've seen it here in IIT. Many guys who came from top ranks, and then they were the middle rankers like me, we chisel past them, so it can go the other way around also. So staying at any point is also pretty difficult. You can't assume that, hey, I'm the brilliant guy and therefore I shall remain so. The other thing about success is that in business you'll see some people achieve success through questionable means, and that's something I will not recommend to you. Sooner or later society finds out. So they say, oh yeah, that guy was successful because he cheated this guy, that guy. Can you feel good if you made a lot of money through the wrong means? And I know, Tatas are a very recognized organization. They say, you know what, these guys made money the right way. And many others who sort of bought their licenses and fed people behind the scene and all that sort of thing, people know about it. So many business groups in India, and what do you think of them? Oh, it's okay, the guy made billions of dollars, but would you respect that guy? So it's a question of what matters to you more, the respect or the money? You need to make a trade-off on that. And I certainly wouldn't recommend that you head the wrong direction to make it happen. Yeah, that's the end of the slide. How nice. Oh, Okay, unwind and chill out. So I'm just saying, look, in all of this, I'm just saying you need to, not overstress, keep a balance between all your activities and keep a de-stressing agent. At least in my age, I found a dog is a really good thing, They give you unconditional love. Unfortunately, I lost my dog last year. So, well, that's about, I just want to stop here at 6. Let me just give you over 10 minutes of Q&A. Any questions? Yeah. No questions. Brilliant. Everything is as clear as mud. Let's go. Huh? Oh, okay, you're shy. You got to come out of it. Come on. If you're shy, you're not going to be able to project your ideas. Remember what I told you. You need to project your success. Even if you don't have success, project it. Project that I'm successful when I'm not. That's it. Anybody, any ideas, any thoughts, questions? Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Yeah. How do you connect with me? My email address is with Nag, he'll tell you. Monishi@sanyals.com. Not sanyal.com, but Sanyals, because there are many Sanyals in my family. That's a family name. So Monishi@sanyals.com. Okay. Okay, I may take a little time responding because I do get bombarded by a lot of emails from alumni, and I attend to the guys in Silicon Valley because that's the immediate address point. Yep. Anybody else?
I was looking at your CV. I was wondering how this guy was successful 20 years in India, chose to go to US after that.
Who?
Yourself.
Oh, me? Actually, it's kind of funny. I worked here for 20 years, up to 1989. And then I went to the US because a friend of mine who's based in Madras told me, you know what? I said, why do you do all this software export? So he said, you know what? The income is tax-free. So I said, oh boy, I hate paying taxes. In the legitimate way. I mean, if there's a rule that allows you not to pay taxes because you're earning foreign exchange, why not? So that's when I went into software export, quote unquote. Then I realized that, you know what? I'm the sales guy. I'm a business deal maker. And I have to be in the front to make it happen. The moment you're a resident in the US for more than 183 days, you're liable for taxes there, regardless of the fact that you're tax-free here. Then it didn't make a difference. I got stuck in the system there. I was selling, and we got a very quick upsurge, and we started making money. And then I said, you know what? But I'm stuck in the US now. So
I think you left in the wrong time. It's just about the time India's liberalizing.
Yes, no. India's upsurge came much later. I mean, today there's a reverse traffic of IITians coming back. I mean, this is the happening place. Now US is picking up, but if you see what happened between 2008 up to about a year or two back, US was not the place to be. India was the place to be in.
Okay.
What about you youngsters from the back over there? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead. You had a good breakfast, just get up there, ask your question. You don't need a mic.
You said entrepreneurs, you're going to help, like if I have some idea and if I want to approach you to support my idea, to build up, like how?
Yeah, I'll tell you how I do it in Silicon Valley. Somebody comes to me and says, I've got this idea of building this product for the cloud. I know nothing about cloud. Okay, I mean, I know a little about everything. I know a little bit about cloud, about mobility, about social media, about enterprise, about security. In every subject I know a little bit. But because I network extensively, I know the people who know that. So I will call up that guy and say, you know what, and I have checked with what if alumni want some time from you? Can you give a little bit of time? They say yes. And typically what happens is I have a little format. And I tell people, if you want to discuss an idea, fill up this write-up, make the idea very attractive, but do not give away your secret sauce. Because nobody at the initial stage signs an NDA. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. Nobody signs that. So you want to discuss something, there will be no NDA signed, and you discuss with somebody, and then later on he says, oh, that's a good idea. You know what, I'll run with it. Have you seen some of these places where they say, oh, come with your inventions and we'll tell you how, we'll help you out how to do that. Half those guys lose their ideas, to somebody else who will cash in on it. So, yes, certainly I can connect you depending on the vertical that you're in. I can connect you to the right people. I do have very wide connectivity over there, but I'm not the expert in that line. I'm sort of like a traffic cop. I send you for your idea confirmations, then next you'll come to me, I want financing. Okay, do you want angel financing? Do you want VC financing? How do you want to, how much are you willing to dilute yourself? How far can you go and build a POC, a proof of concept? And how long will you last? Because you may be working with a little bit of money that you saved up. So depending on those circumstances, you decide, and I'll take you in early stage, late stage, and depending on what vertical. We could do that, but I personally don't do it. I'm the traffic cop. I will redirect you where to go. Yep. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. One more question. Can we have a question from the ladies? None of the ladies have asked anything. I like questioning ladies. Oh, they're playing passing the pillow. They're passing the mic around. Okay, throw them back and forth. You can have a volleyball, mic volleyball. Oh, look at that. It's come backwards now.
Hello, sir.
Yes, hi.
Hi. Can you give some IIT dropout student who is more successful in arts?
Who? Can you give some?
IIT dropouts. IITian who is dropped out this college and is very famous.
Oh, I don't know who dropped out of IIT, see. I mean, the guys who came there and claimed that they were IITians, I presume they graduated. So, I mean, because we don't have a, the guys we take as in our membership, we don't have a system where we run it by the institute, say, did this guy get his degree? We don't do that. But sometimes in our batches, I know if I can see a number and it says 1.220 by 65, and I found that the guy graduated in 71, I know he plugged once. That much I can make out. But beyond that, but then again, the course has shifted to a 4-year course. We can't make out who graduated from IIT. I mean, we are assuming anybody who wants to claim the title IITian did graduate from IIT. Yep. How about the ladies? One last chance. Come on, you're going to ask something. Make my day. Oh, there you are.
How many of the entrepreneurs you know are women? And how many women are there in your networking circle?
Oh, there are quite a few, not as many as the men, but remember in IIT, the population of women are also relatively small. And if you look at it from that, I mean, let's say look at some of our very well-known women in this thing. Let's say Padma Shri Warrior, she's the CTO of Cisco. I like her smile. I told her that I would like to use her. If I was running a toothpaste company, I'd love to use her for the toothpaste ads. But she's the CTO of Cisco, which is, that's a top-ranking position in a big company. And there are many entrepreneurs. I know the former president of IIT Kharagpur, Parvati Dev, is now running a company in the pharma line. And, it's a question of now who's going to make a major exit, but there are many out there. Proportionate to the number of women that came in through the system. In our time, there were no girls, yeah, in our time. Did you have one? We had nobody. Our batch, we have this E-group, and in our E-group, there's a lot of smut flying around because there are no women in our batch. So everybody lets them have it, all the crudest jokes keep flying around, that's it. So, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. They're going to give me a memento. Look at that.
Raghava and Ramna.